Hey, what's good, everybody? So this is gonna be my first spirit animal video, and so I'm never gonna talk about something I haven't interacted with. So the the coyotes is a spirit animal that I've had many interactions with, even before I really understood or knew what a spirit animal was. I mean, I kind of did, but the coyote was one of the first ones, right? And he was even with me, or she, before I realized it. When I was maybe 18, I had got this medicine staff, right? And if you could see, it has the coyote skull, right? And this came to me when I was about 18, and I didn't realize yet what it meant, but it all made sense later. So anyways, I'll just read a little bit about like some common things that people associate it with, right? They call it the trickster, the reluctant hero. It has playfulness, adjustability, adaptation, true seeing, creativity, a paradox, shape-shifting, and wisdom, right? So I'll say how I've seen that work in my life, right? And there's also plenty of stories. If you want, just look up Coyote, Native American stories. There's good and bad ones, but nothing's really bad. It's more, there's always lessons in it, right? And so, like one of my favorite ones is like how the coyote brought fire, right? So there's a lot about how cunning the coyote is. So, for example, the trickster. Every time there's been a big change in my life, the coyote appeared, right? There was like the day I left a job of 9 years. He was outside my house, which I had never seen in all my life. I had never seen, like, as I was leaving to work, like at 3 in the morning, there was a coyote across the street from my house. And I looked and I was like, what? And I didn't understand yet, but I knew it meant something, right? And sure enough, so there was a lot of things that happened with that job. I knew I was supposed to leave, but I wouldn't. And so all these events happened that out of my control, that caused a chain reaction that made me end up leaving. And even there was a time when I sat outside in my car for like 30 minutes and I was like, okay, today I'm gonna give my 2 weeks notice. I'm gonna go in there, give my 2 weeks notice, and I go in there to work, and then I just say, well, I'll just give it before I leave home today. And then one of the managers has a stroke or something, right? Whether it was a heart attack or stroke, right? Or I'm not sure 100% of it's really the same thing, but so then I felt bad, and I was like, wow, I can't exactly go now and say, hey, even though he had a stroke, by the way, I want to give my 2 weeks notice. So then I was stuck for another few months, and miserable until I finally got the opportunity again, and then I just flat out, boom, gave my 2 weeks notice. And on the very last day, I think it was, of my 2 weeks notice, because they kept trying to tell me, "Are you sure you don't want to stay, this and that and this, you're going to give up your benefits, you're going to give that and this." And on my very last day, I stuck to my guns, and the last day of my 2 weeks notice, the coyote was outside. And I understood the whole story, right? Everything that had transpired for the trickster, right? Something had to happen, because I wasn't reacting. Another story, and then I'll go into something else, but it was like someone I was dealing with. We were always on and off. After this person had messaged me, and they were like, oh, let me take you out, this and that, and I told them no, flat out. I was like, no, like, we tried this already, it didn't work, let's just cut it, and she kind of insisted this and that, but I was just like, no, for what? It doesn't make sense. But eventually I gave in, I guess she kind of convinced me, and so I gave in. And that morning that we met up, before we met up in the morning, I seen a coyote, and sure enough, we went out and we ended up getting into this big argument. But I just let it be. I remembered the coyote, and I was like, wow, like, you made sure that something you were already trying to warn me beforehand, but you were showing me that, so he had to make sure to do something. And see, most people might look at it as bad, but as soon as we got into the argument, I already knew. I said, okay, I got what happened, and I said, okay, and that was it. I went on my way, and I was like, wow, okay. Should have listened to my first instinct and just kept it with the no, right? Even though people try to be persuasive and this and that, no, 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 right? And so, that's a lot of times we don't listen. So the trickster part is, some may look at it in a bad way, but it's like something necessary that had to happen for you to make a move, right? And so that's just some example. Okay, so I think I cut out in a good place. I could continue from there. So yeah, I gave those examples, right? About that, about the like the trickster. Another one is like the reluctant hero, right? The reluctant hero is I've seen that work where, not so much like hero, but there's things you can help out with that sometimes you just want to stay out of it, because you're like, you can help out in a situation, but it's like almost like something really has to pull. Like, there's just been times I didn't want to get involved with something, but I knew I was able to, fix the situation or help, and then you'll intervene because whatever, it's like the right thing to do, right? And you just do it, right? So that's happened to me, and then I ran into the coyote, and that's the crazy thing is, once you start noticing, because like one of the big things that the coyote means is change. Like, guaranteed, when I see it, it's like a change is about to happen. Something's about to happen. So that's why I kind of gave those examples: the job, leaving the job, and not talking to this person anymore that I was dealing with. All these changes, right? So, and sometimes I'll see the coyote, and then I'll see, like, for those of you that know about numbers, I'll make videos about numbers later, but there's plenty of people that have those out there. And like 555, 555, I'll see it. Like, I'll see the coyote, and then I'll see 555 everywhere, right? I'll look at the clock, 555. A lot of times I have a lot of clocks that are like offset, right? So they're not even on the right time, and then I'll see 555, or I'll look at a video and 555, license plate 555. So, and that means change, right? It's just giving you the heads up, right? Sometimes that's what the coyote is doing, giving you the heads up. But that's kind of the thing, right? I'll see it, and then the whole reluctant hero kind of thing, like, it'll happen, And that's the coyote, like that energy of sometimes being like lazy, not wanting to get involved, because it's like, hey, I'm doing my thing, right? Like, why am I gonna get involved? This person should know better, or things like that, right? Sometimes you could tend to be like that, right? Like, on your own little in your own little bubble, and be like, man, they should know better, or they should know how to do this, or. But then, so that's kind of that energy, right? The playfulness, yeah, because sometimes you might be taking things way too seriously. I've just, I've observed coyotes and just seen them playing around like little kids, right? And you're like, it's amazing to see. And sometimes it could be, it might have been at a time in my life when I was just being too serious, you know, because I mean, there's times when I'll put that up, because I've noticed in life it never fails. When you're nice, people tend to take advantage, and then you have to bring that other side out, right? And it just never fails. It never fails. Because I have both, right? Like, I could be like the nicest person in the world, and then I could go all the way to that other part, and that's what I do. Like, there is no, you're not gonna take advantage of me kind of thing, And sometimes I allow it, because I don't want to be that bad person, right? Like, so then when people push me into that energy, then the coyote will come to remind me, hey, it's good. You probably already cut that person out, so you could get back to the playfulness, right? So that's an important thing to always remember, to go back to the playfulness. The adjustability, it's kind of the same thing, to adapt to situations. The coyote is very cunning, so it'll remind you, you know, you'll see it, and it's like things where, it's like this whole quarantine, everything. Thanks to all the things, I was able to adjust pretty fast, and I was seeing coyotes in the beginning. Before everything happened, I was seeing coyotes, and so sure enough, here all this happened, right? The oh, I'm trying to remember if I fed my dog. I think I did. Okay, the true scene, you're able to see, like, you're able to see the lies and deception, because like that's what, if you read a lot of the stories of Native Americans with the coyote, it's about being cunning, right? So, and it's not more, it's a lot of cunning has to do with experience, right? Like the coyote is so curious. Like, I have a picture, maybe I'll use it as the thumbnail, right? But it was like I had seen a coyote and it saw me and it went over a hill, but I put the camera and I took the picture because I knew he was gonna pop up its head. It didn't. It kind of got it blurry. It didn't. I didn't focus it in time, but sure enough, I pointed it because I knew he was gonna come back and pop his head up, and sure enough, he did. The coyote has that very curious nature, so his cunning comes more from experience. It's almost like there's probably nothing that at some point in your life you get to a point where there's probably nothing you haven't really experienced in some sense. So you see through the lies, the deception of people more so because of experience, that coyote energy, that curiousness, right? So I mean, usually I let things go, but it's like I know, and it's just it's a sad. More than anything, it's sad to watch, right? You see the deception in people sometimes, and it's more than anything sad to watch, but you just go along with it. You know what I mean? It's maybe that's part of the playful nature too, of not taking it too seriously, knowing that that's their walk. That's gonna cost them at some point. They're gonna stumble and fall, and they're gonna have to learn the hard way, right? So you kind of just, all right, cool. The creativity, yeah. I mean, I've gone through, for example, if you're from California, anywhere really, you know that there were a bunch of fires, and so I had been going to the mountains and everything a lot, and then I was going up, and there was a dead coyote, which I've never seen around here, right? And I've seen it when I've taken long drives up north to northern states, and you see them, you see a lot, but here I've never seen a dead one lying on the street, and so it was there as I'm going to the mountains. And sure enough, when I got to the mountains, you start seeing that there was smoke coming out, and so it was showing me that that change was about to happen. And during that time, I, you know, I used a lot of creative energy, so I did a lot of creative things during that time frame. So I understand the creativity and why, just the way you could observe it. If anything, if you ever have questions, you understand to study the actual, animal itself, and you'll learn that even just studying in the way it behaves itself, like look through a science thing and say, oh, all the characteristics of a coyote, and you'll start seeing even the spiritual aspects of it. So that's, you could see the creativity, the paradox. It's kind of like what I talked about the trickster, right? Sometimes things happen that seem like they're bad, but they're really meant for for you to evolve higher learning, all that stuff, right? So, if you understand the word paradox, you'll see it. The shape shifting, I've seen it like where the same, a coyote was running for me. I kind of was looking to see where it's going. I felt like it was leading me somewhere, and it goes into a bush, and a red-tailed hawk flies out, and I didn't see the coyote no more. And I was like, and then I went, and there was something there waiting for me, right? Like a gift from the universe, right? So, for those of you that are new to watching me, then you understand. Then this is more indigenous than anything, from experience. Whatever I say, I haven't learned from a book. I've learned it from life, and then it's more like the things people have written. Then it was confirmation, but it's things that it's kind of like if you told someone, oh, underneath the ground, ants have colonies and this and that, and someone was like, yeah, right, like you must be smoking something, like, okay, ants have a colony, yeah, they're like people, they have a whole little thing, and worker ants and this and that, and people wouldn't have grasped it unless science has shown them. So that's how the spiritual stuff is. I'm sure if people understood, there is a logical explanation, but just that humans are so less evolved now because they disconnected from what we call spiritual, but really it's normal, right? Like all the old, tribal people lived in that, but because of, colonization, all this stuff, it was way more lucrative to dumb people down, right? So they disconnected people from everyday life, which was these interactions with animals and everything. You know what I mean? Like they so what might seem a little weird to you, like, oh, spiritual, like, yeah, right, like animals will communicate with you and this and that and that and this. Understand that. See, I can only teach on what I've seen with my own eyes, right? Like, no. At this point in my life, I still haven't done any hallucinogens or nothing like that, right? So it's very just the connection, right? We are energy, right? We're flowing energy. Maybe it's just vibrating. When you vibrate at a different level, and it's not to to pump myself up, like, because it's a lot of hard work. Sometimes it's not, right. Like, you may be born with those gifts, and then society will make you numb them down because they don't get it. So just that. I don't want to go into too much of that. This video is about, just because this is my first spirit animal video, so you guys could understand where I'm going to be going with that, and especially that, since I just mentioned the shape shifting, so you could understand how normal of a thing that is in not only indigenous culture, but most tribal cultures. You know, there's those kind of stories, right? And I might tie into, like, before anything, like, I've taught people of religious groups about about the Bible and stuff, because they really didn't get it. You know what I mean? Like, when I read it, I saw it from that aspect of, oh, this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me. So I understood it, and it was more confirmation. Like I said, there was a lot of spiritual things that people didn't get, right? But I'm gonna cut it, okay? Because if not, I'm gonna keep going. The last one, oh, well, wisdom, right? The coyote is wisdom, and like I said, it's really more wisdom through doing, So that's funny that I mentioned that part, right? So the wisdom is more through that curious nature and that hands-on, right? And then everything else will come more like a confirmation, right? You'll see it as you apply it in your life. So hopefully that helped. I don't know. Hopefully I didn't go off into. I have a habit of going into trying to explain every little detail, right? So I could go into all these side stories, but I'm gonna try to make these spirit animal ones more about that. So hopefully you saw how it might relate to your life. You'll see it. You'll notice it when you're going through certain change. The coyote will appear, and if you choose to listen to it, like how I had said about the fire, like a dead coyote appeared, and for weeks I couldn't go to the mountains because there was these fires, and then I seen two coyotes, uh, and then that next day I went to check, and the mountains happened to be open again. So I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. And there were two coyotes, and there were two roads that had been open. So I thought that was pretty interesting, right? Just the way it worked. So okay, hope you guys have a great day.